Wang Yibo Xiao Zhan in ghastly motor accident, fans praying. The night air in Beijing was heavy with a metallic scent of impending rain, and yet, for millions of fans scattered across Asia, the storm had already begun long before the clouds opened. The trending topic that seized every platform in seconds was not a new drama announcement, not a red carpet sighting, but something darker, sharper, and infinitely more gut-wrenching. Wang Yibo Xiao Zhan had been involved in a devastating motor accident. What was meant to be a quiet drive home from a charity gala spiraled into a nightmare within minutes. Witnesses described the scene as something straight out of a movie, but without the safety of a director yelling cut. According to one bystander, the sleek black car carrying the two stars had been moving steadily along a rain-slicked highway when, from nowhere, a truck swerved into their lane. The sound of metal crushing against metal echoed through the night, followed by the terrifying hiss of smoke curling from the vehicle's crumpled front. The first few minutes, a race against time. Emergency responders arrived within 8 minutes, but for fans following live updates from bystanders' social media posts, it felt like hours. One clip, now viral, showed the mangled car door being pried open while faint groans could be heard from inside. The dim light revealed Xiao Zhan slumped forward, one hand still reaching toward Wang Yibo's shoulder, as if trying to shield him from the impact. The sight was enough to shatter even the strongest hearts among their loyal supporters. Paramedics confirmed that both men were conscious when they were pulled from the wreckage, though visibly in shock. Wang Yibo's arm appeared twisted at an unnatural angle, and Xiao Zhan's forehead bore a deep gash, trickling down his temple. Their clothes were soaked, not just from the rain, but from the harsh spray of the deployed airbags. The journey to the hospital. Traffic cameras caught the moment the ambulance sped through the city, lights flashing in frantic pulses. Inside, sources say, Wang Yibo kept whispering something to Xiao Zhan in hushed tones, his voice trembling between pain and desperation. Xiao Zhan, though barely able to keep his eyes open, reportedly squeezed his hand in response. It was a scene no drama script could recreate, the raw, unfiltered bond between two men who had weathered storms together before, but never one so physically perilous. The hospital, now swarmed by fans and media crews, went into immediate lockdown. Guards stood at every entrance as doctors rushed the pair into separate emergency rooms. The flashing cameras outside couldn't capture what was happening behind closed doors, but insiders later leaked that both men's conditions were serious but stable. That phrase, while meant to comfort, only seemed to heighten the public's anxiety. Inside the waiting room, family arrives. Within an hour, Wang Yibo's mother arrived, her face pale as she clutched her phone to her chest, reportedly having received the call while still in Changsha. Moments later, Xiao Zhan's family rushed in, visibly shaken. The two families exchanged only brief, tense nods before being escorted into the private waiting area. No one dared speak too loudly. The only sounds were the hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional soft sob from one corner. Fans online began piecing together timelines and theories. Some claimed the pair had been arguing in the car before the crash. Others insisted it was merely bad weather and a reckless truck driver. A small but vocal group hinted at something more sinister, sabotage from industry rivals who had long been uncomfortable with their close relationship. The first medical update, a shaky relief. After 3 hours that felt like 3 years, the hospital released a statement. Wang Yibo had sustained a fractured arm, multiple bruises, and a mild concussion. Xiao Zhan's injuries included a head wound requiring stitches, cracked ribs, and severe muscle strain in his leg. Both were out of immediate danger, though doctors stressed that recovery would be slow and would require weeks of rest. The relief that swept across the internet was palpable, yet it was tinged with lingering fear. Images of the crash site still circulated: twisted metal, shattered glass, a lone shoe lying in the middle of the road. Fans couldn't stop replaying the mental image of their idols in such a vulnerable state. The scene everyone can't stop talking about. It wasn't the accident footage that dominated headlines. It was a single blurry photo snapped by a nurse in the ER hallway. In it, Wang Yibo is on a stretcher, eyes half open, reaching out toward another stretcher just ahead of him. That stretcher, carrying Xiao Zhan, is surrounded by doctors, but you can just make out Xiao Zhan turning his head slightly, as though searching for Yibo's voice. The image has already been dubbed the Reach by fans, a symbol of their unshakable connection even in the worst of circumstances. Messages from friends and co-stars. By midnight, several celebrities had posted messages of support. Tan Songyun, who had been working with Wang Yibo recently, wrote simply, "Come back safe." Su Kai posted a photo of a candle with the caption, "Praying for both of you." Even industry veterans like Zhou Sun and Hu Gu shared words of encouragement, reflecting how deeply the news had pierced the entertainment world. But it was a message from one of their close mutual friends that sparked a new wave of emotions. The post read, "They always fought like brothers, laughed like fools, and protected each other like something more. If the universe tried to break them tonight, it failed." The city holds its breath. By early morning, fans had set up vigils outside the hospital, holding candles and handwritten notes. Some sang softly, their voices carrying in the damp air, while others stood silently, tears rolling down their cheeks. The accident had not only shaken the industry, it had united people across countries, languages, and even rival fandoms in a single prayer. Let them heal. Security tried to keep order, but even they couldn't help but watch with quiet sympathy as strangers offered tissues to each other and shared stories of how Wang Yibo, or Xiao Zhan, had touched their lives through their work. A final glimpse before sunrise. Just before dawn, a reporter managed to catch a brief glimpse through a partially open curtain on the hospital's third floor. Inside, Wang Yibo lay propped up on a bed, his arm in a cast, speaking softly to someone out of frame. A second later, Xiao Zhan appeared, seated in a wheelchair, his head bandaged, but his eyes focused entirely on Yibo. The curtain closed quickly, but the image, two figures in the faint glow of early morning, still together despite everything, was enough to reignite hope across the fanbase. The road ahead will be long, filled with physiotherapy, recovery, and perhaps more questions than answers about that fateful night. But for now, the world watches, waits, and whispers the same words in unison. Come back to us, stronger than ever. The rain had stopped by the time paramedics wheeled Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan into the emergency ward, but the scent of wet asphalt and scorched rubber still clung to their clothes. The quiet hum of the hospital corridors was pierced only by the squeak of gurney wheels and the hurried footsteps of doctors in pale blue scrubs. Both men had been separated upon arrival, standard protocol, but their eyes kept searching for each other until the doors swung shut between them. One nurse, speaking under anonymity, said, "It was like they were more worried about the other than themselves." The emergency rooms. Xiao Zhan's was the first to be prepped. His blood-matted hair stuck to his forehead, the crimson stains seeping into the pillow as a doctor leaned over him with sterilized gauze. Every so often, his lashes fluttered open, his voice rasping only one name, Yibo. 2 rooms away, Wang Yibo gritted his teeth as a medic tried to stabilize his fractured arm. Despite the dull throb of pain and the disorientation from the concussion, his first words were not about himself. They were a question. Is he okay? The medic only offered a non-committal hum, focusing on the swelling along his forearm. The surge of media. By now, outside the hospital, the storm had taken a different shape. Hundreds of flashing bulbs, shouted questions, and live-streaming phones capturing every sliver of movement near the entrance. A handful of journalists had even bribed security for insider photos, one of which quickly dominated the trending charts. Wang Yibo on a stretcher, eyes glazed yet turned toward the ER doors as though willing Xiao Zhan to appear. Fans from rival fandoms found themselves united in their comments. "We don't care about ships right now. Just let them survive this. No drama is worth losing them. Please recover." Family reactions. In the private waiting lounge, Wang Yibo's mother sat stiffly in a chair, hands clasped tightly over her rosary beads. She hadn't spoken a word since she arrived, save for a trembling request for tea she never touched. Across the room, Xiao Zhan's younger brother paced in small, frantic circles, pausing only when a nurse walked past in hopes of overhearing good news. At one point, his mother approached Yibo's mother, resting a hand gently on her arm. No words were exchanged, but the silent gesture was enough to melt a little of the tension that had been hanging in the air. Inside the OR hallway, a few minutes after midnight, the first miracle happened. As doctors wheeled Xiao Zhan out from stitching and rib compression treatment, Wang Yibo, despite his injuries, somehow convinced a nurse to wheel his bed into the hallway. Their eyes met instantly. No press cameras caught the moment, but one orderly who witnessed it later told a reporter. He smiled, not the big bright one fans know, but a soft, tired smile. And Xiao Zhan, even with his lip trembling, smiled back. It lasted only seconds before they were pulled apart again, but for fans who later heard the story, it was enough to ignite hope. Hospital under siege. As the night deepened, the hospital became a fortress. Extra guards were posted to stop overeager fans from sneaking in, though a few still managed to infiltrate disguised as delivery couriers. Inside, the reception desk was buried under stacks of letters, flower arrangements, and plush toys, tokens sent from every corner of the country. Even hospital staff admitted they had never seen such an outpouring for 2 patients at once. "It's like the city's heartbeat is in these rooms," one nurse whispered to another. The reach becomes a symbol. Around 2 a.m., the now famous photo began circulating, a blurry capture of Wang Yibo reaching toward Xiao Zhan's stretcher as they passed in the corridor. The photo, taken by a nurse's aide, was initially meant for private documentation but leaked within minutes. Fans christened it the Reach, flooding timelines with messages about loyalty, friendship, and fate. Within hours, artists began sketching fan art, musicians composed short instrumental tributes, and one poet even described it as the moment rain met sunlight. Celebrity messages pour in. While publicists scrambled to control narratives, fellow actors flooded social media with prayers. Tan Songyan, my thoughts are with you both. Rest. The world can wait. Su Kai, no matter how dark the night, dawn always comes. Zhou Sun, strength is not in standing tall, but in rising together. One post, however, drew the most attention. A close mutual friend wrote, "If you think this accident can break them, you don't understand what's holding them together." The line was retweeted over 1 million times in under 2 hours. A city in prayer. By dawn, the vigils outside had multiplied. Streets near the hospital were lined with flickering candles, handwritten notes, and makeshift boards covered in Polaroids of the 2 stars. Some fans sang softly, harmonizing over the quiet hum of the city waking up, while others just stood silently, hands pressed together in prayer. One elderly fan, clutching a decades-old camera, told a young reporter, "I've followed many actors in my life. But these 2, they make people believe in something again. That's worth fighting for." A glimpse before sunrise. Just before the first streak of gold touched the hospital windows, a curtain on the 3rd floor shifted. In the faint gap, someone caught sight of Wang Yibo sitting up in bed, his cast resting in his lap, speaking softly to a figure by the window. That figure, Xiao Zhan, was seated in a wheelchair, his head bandaged, his gaze fixed entirely on Yibo. The curtain closed moments later, but the sight was enough to send the fandom into a fresh wave of emotional posts. "They're together," one fan wrote. "That's all that matters." No official cause. Yet. Police have confirmed that the truck driver responsible for the crash is in custody, but refused to comment on whether alcohol, fatigue, or deliberate intent played a role. Rumors swirl that the truth may be darker than an ordinary road accident, but for now, both men's teams have asked the public to focus solely on their recovery. The first chapter of this ordeal has ended with them alive, but the shadows of that night will linger. For now, the industry, the fans, and an entire city will continue to wait, holding its collective breath until the day both Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan step out together again.